A dollar store purchase is out fishing $100 lure collections on the same lake right now. Not by a small margin either. We're talking 5 times the catch rate using something your grandmother keeps in the pantry. This isn't some new fishing hack from social media. It's a technique that got banned from fishing tournaments in Louisiana during the 90s because competitors using it had too much advantage over everyone else. I discovered this completely by accident while struggling through a terrible fishing weekend. My tackle box was stuffed with every expensive attractant the shop sold. The guy fishing 20 yards from my spot had one small bag and basic gear. By noon, his bucket was overflowing while I'd caught exactly nothing. When I swallowed my pride and asked what he was using, he pulled out a box of plain gelatin from the grocery store. The kind you make desserts with. $3 for enough to last an entire season. He told me his grandfather taught him this method in the early 50s. Back then, every serious angler in the Gulf states relied on it. Then the tackle industry started pushing bottled scent products in the 70s, convincing everyone that laboratory science had improved on traditional wisdom. But here's what they don't advertise. Those tournament bans happened because gelatin worked too effectively. Anglers coating their baits with it dominated every competition they entered. Organizers claimed it created unfair advantages and prohibited its use. They banned a $3 grocery item while allowing $100 electronics. That tells you everything about who shapes the rules in this sport. The science behind why this works is actually straightforward. Fish don't just smell attractants dissolved in water. They constantly taste their environment through receptors along their lateral line and inside their mouth. Gelatin contains pure protein chains that dissolve slowly, creating what biologists call a taste cloud. In still water, this cloud can spread 40 feet from your bait. Commercial scent products rely mostly on mineral oil and synthetic fragrances. They smell appealing to humans in the bottle, but fish perceive them as chemicals. Pure gelatin tastes like actual food because it literally is concentrated animal protein. Your expensive bottled attractants are designed to sit on store shelves for months without spoiling. That stability requires preservatives and synthetic compounds. Gelatin is different. It's the same molecular signal that injured bait fish release naturally. Predator species have spent millions of years evolving to detect and respond to these exact protein markers in the water. You're triggering instinct hardwired deeper than hunger. The application process couldn't be simpler. Get plain unflavored gelatin in individual packets. One packet treats roughly a dozen baits depending on size. Take your plastic worm, grub, or live bait and dampen it slightly. Sprinkle gelatin powder directly onto the surface and rub it in gently with your fingers. You want a thin coating, not a thick crust. The gelatin sticks to the damp bait and dissolves gradually once it hits the water. For live bait like night crawlers or minnows, dip them in water first. Then roll them through gelatin in a small bowl. The coating remains effective for about 45 minutes before you need to reapply. But the real power comes from custom blends that outperform anything available in tackle shops. Mix gelatin with garlic powder at a 2-to-1 ratio. That combination is devastatingly effective for largemouth bass and catfish. The protein from gelatin carries the garlic compounds deeper into the water column than oil-based products ever could. What happens next is something most anglers using store-bought scents never experience. Your bait becomes a feeding beacon that pulls fish from distances bottled products can't touch. For saltwater applications, the gelatin approach shifts slightly but remains just as potent. Crush dried shrimp or crab shells into fine powder and blend it with your gelatin base. The protein molecules bind to those shellfish particles and carry them through the water column in ways oil-based scents never could. A charter captain working out of Biloxi shared this variation with me after I watched him fill live wells trip after trip. His clients pay $800 thinking his success comes from knowing secret spots. The real secret sits in a mason jar he mixes up once a month for under $5. Meanwhile, tourists at the marina drop $20 on 2 ounces of synthetic attractant that fish can barely detect past 10 feet. The reason this knowledge nearly vanished traces back to the 80s when fishing corporations consolidated power. Major companies absorbed smaller tackle makers and bait producers, then needed customers buying constantly to satisfy shareholders. They pushed innovations, lures with internal rattles, scent products in spray bottles, gels in squeeze tubes. Professional anglers got paid to endorse these items. Magazine coverage shifted from proven techniques to whatever products launched that season. Anything traditional got dismissed as outdated. Methods your grandfather relied on became punchlines. But veteran anglers never stopped catching fish. They just quit sharing publicly after years of mockery from guys drowning in modern gear who couldn't catch anything. That elderly fisherman in Mobile told me he stopped offering advice in the 90s because younger anglers would ridicule his simple approach, then watch him limit out while they got skunked. He fished alone after that, staying quiet. He only opened up because I admitted my expensive setup wasn't working and asked directly what he was doing differently. Tournament anglers who understand this often prep 50 baits the night before and refrigerate them. The gelatin bonds completely to the bait surface overnight. Each piece stays ready to fish immediately, maintaining effectiveness far longer than field applications. Some competitive fishermen won't fish without pre-treated baits anymore because the difference in strike rates is that dramatic. This technique works across virtually every species you target. Largemouth, smallmouth bass, catfish, crappie, walleye, trout, redfish, snook, even panfish like bluegill respond to it. The protein trigger is universal because it mimics what injured prey releases naturally. Amino acids dissolving into water column currents. The same chemical signature that sends sharks into feeding frenzies. You're activating predator instinct programmed over millions of years of evolution using a product designed for making desserts. Commercial fishermen in the 40s stumbled onto this accidentally when using meat scraps and bone-rendering byproducts to draw fish into their nets. Someone recognized that gelatin was essentially a purified, concentrated version of those same attractants. Sport fishermen adopted it and dominated for decades until the tackle industry convinced everyone to forget it existed. Picture your next trip to the lake. Everyone around you struggles with expensive lures and bottled scents while your bait creates a taste trail fish follow like breadcrumbs. You start landing multiples while others sit watching their motionless rod tips. They'll ask what you're using. Whether you share or keep it to yourself, you've escaped the tackle industry cycle. You're catching fish the way anglers did before corporations transformed fishing into endless product consumption. This works because it's rooted in biology, not marketing. Fish detect and respond to real protein signatures, not synthetic fragrances designed to smell good in stores. $3 worth of grocery store gelatin outperforms $30 boutique scent products every single time. That's not opinion. That's chemistry meeting evolution in water where fish actually live. Your next fishing trip doesn't require expensive gear or secret spots. Just a box of plain gelatin and the willingness to use what actually works instead of what stores want to sell you. The choice is simple. Keep feeding the tackle industry or start filling your cooler. That $3 box sitting in your pantry right now outfishes everything hanging on those shop walls.